Hi guys, here for the 7th part of my review on the Space Wolves Codexes. I'm not sure I'm going to do reviews this long again, but I started, so I'll finish. We're into the heavy support part of the Codex, which includes your heavy weapons, your specialist weapons, and your vehicles. So I'm going to start at the beginning, strangely enough, and we're going to go for the Long Fangs. Fairly solid, movement 6, weapon skill and ballistic skill 3, as you'd expect. Standard strength and toughness, standard wounds, single attack, and leadership 8, even for the basic Long Fang. The Long Fang pack leader, all the same, but with a second attack. And the Wolf Guard pack leader, all the same with a second attack. So obviously, apart from the extra weapons that a Wolf Guard pack leader probably has access to, I'm not sure why you'd bother with him. And obviously but you also get access to Wolf Guard Terminator pack leader. Again, you've got to consider your movement reduction, as he can only move 5 inches as opposed to 6 inches. But Long Fangs tend to sit and shoot a lot anyway. This unit contains 1 Long Fang pack leader and 4 Long Fangs. It can include 1 additional Long Fang for a power rating of 1. It can also include either a Wolf Guard pack leader, power rating +2, or a Wolf Guard Terminator pack leader, power rating +3. I mean, it does give you a little bit better saves and some survivability. It really depends on whether you think you're going to need it. The Long Fangs and Long Fang pack leader are each armed with a bolt gun, bolt pistol, frag, and crack grenades. The Long Fang pack leader is also armed with a chainsword, so they start off equipped as basic Marines. The Wolf Guard pack leader is armed with a chainsword, bolt pistol. The Wolf Guard pack leader is armed with a chainsword, bolt pistol, frag grenade, and crack grenades. The Wolf Guard Terminator pack leader is armed with a power sword and storm bolter. Again, those are standard. The war gear options are really where your Long Fangs get exciting. Any Long Fang may replace his bolt gun with any item from the heavy weapons list. That's a lot of heavy hitting firepower that you can lay down pretty much whenever you want. The Long Fang pack leader may replace his bolt gun with a bolt pistol, a plasma pistol, or an item from the special weapons list. Not entirely sure what you'd go with. He seems just to be there as a pack leader. I'm not entirely sure what the point of a Long Fang pack leader is. If he doesn't have a heavy weapon, the additional attack's not going to make a difference, because if you're getting Long Fangs in close combat, something has gone terribly wrong, and his leadership's the same. I'm not entirely sure why he exists even. The Wolf Guard pack leader may replace his chainsaw with a plasma pistol, storm shield, and item from the melee weapons list. Again, it seems a purchase that would be difficult to justify. If you've got your Long Fangs in the right place at the right time. Oops, I'm just going to sort myself on check. They're going to stay at the back of the battlefield. Yes, it might provide a little extra protection, but if your enemy is going to hit your Long Fangs, he's not going to hit them with a piddly little unit. He's going to hit them with something hard and fast, and there's a good chance that one Wolf Guard or one Long Fang pack leader isn't going to make a difference. The Wolf Guard Terminator pack leader may replace his power sword with a storm shield or an item from the Terminator melee weapon list. He may also replace his storm bolter with an item from the Terminator melee weapon list, the combi weapon list, or the Terminator heavy weapon list. That seems more viable, having a big bad Terminator that can provide a little bit of close protection should you need it, and an additional heavy weapon. That might be the way I'd choose to go with these. Abilities: they shall know no fear, obviously. Fire discipline, which is nice. At the start of each of your shooting phases, pick 1 enemy unit on the battlefield. You can reroll hits of 1 for any models from this unit that target the enemy unit you pick that phase. Rerolling ones isn't bad. They've lost the ability to split firepower, which is something some of you may not know has been in the Space Wolves Codex since 3rd ed. Most units had to pick one unit. Space Wolf Longfangs have for a long time been able to divide their fire. It was their thing. Bit of a shame, but you can't have everything. Mixed unit, if you take a Terminator, it has the Terminator keyword. That's primarily important for the purposes of transports. So again, if you want to take that Terminator with that heavy weapon, you've got to decide how's your unit going to get places. Is it going to sit where it is at the beginning of the battlefield? If not, how are you going to transport it? A standard transport for a long fang pack is often a Razorback, which won't take a Terminator. But it's always about those choices. And obviously it has the Crux Terminatus rule for if you have a Terminator in there. Next, we've got the Primaris, ones I'm interested in. The Hellblasters. Standard movement, 3/3 weapon skill, ballistic skill. Standard toughness, wounds 2 and attacks 2, with the Hellblaster pack leader having a 3rd attack. This unit contains 1 Hellblaster pack leader and 4 Hellblasters. It can include up to 5 additional Hellblasters for a power rating of +8. Each model is armed with a plasma incinerator, bolt pistol, frag grenades, and crack grenades. Everything you'd expect of that. Roll of 1, bear it slain. Roll of 1, bear it slain off of all those weapons. War gear options. All models in the unit may replace their plasma incinerator with a assault plasma incinerator. All models in the unit may replace their plasma incinerator with a heavy plasma incinerator. I must admit, I've got a unit of each of those because I just like plasma, frankly. I'd like to say it's for more tactical reason than I like plasma. Plasma is massively cool, and in all fairness, they are the heavy weapons loadout of your Primaris. The Hellblaster pack leader may replace his bolt pistol with a plasma pistol. Not sure why you would. He's going to have a plasma rifle. If you're going to charge in there, it's an additional plasma shot. Might be worth it, might not. But again, that's up to you. Abilities, they shall know no fear, and that's it. Fairly straightforward. Next, we get on to the shiny, pretty vehicles. Got the Hunter to start with, which is one of your anti-air options. Its movement, ballistic skill, and attack skill, as with all vehicles, varies depending on its wound, starting at movement 10, ending at movement 3, starting at ballistic skill 3+, ending at ballistic skill 5+, and with 3 attacks. When it's down to its last few wounds, it's down to 1 attack. Equipment wise, what makes this special is the Sky Spear missile launcher, where you add 1 when rolling against flying units to counteract the -1 you'd normally get when rolling against flying units. 1 may not seem like much, but it really does make a difference, particularly if your enemy uses a lot of flyers and the flying game is strong in this edition. War gear options, you may take a Hunter Killer Missile and a Storm Bolter. Frankly, if you're remaining stationary firing all weapons, there's no reason not to. Every extra little attack gives you something. Really, whether or not you choose to take those additions is down to whether or not you've got better things to spend the points on. Smoke launchers, I've always liked smoke launchers, and explodes. We've been through a lot, I'll just quickly run through it again. If this model is reduced to 0 wounds, roll a d6 before removing the model from the table. On a 6, it explodes, and each unit within 6 of it suffers d3. This explode rule has a little bit more range than the explode rule we've seen before on the Dreadnoughts, but that's because it's a bigger thing. We've got the Stalker, which is the kind of flat cannon, or in this case Icarus Storm Cannon anti-aircraft device. Again, similar, well, exactly the same stats as the Hunter, which is what you'd expect. They're both built with the same chassis. Again, you can take a Hunter Killer Missile or a Storm Bolter. And again, you've got smoke launchers and explodes. The main difference between these two is the Sky Spear missile launcher has a range of 60 inches and a heavy 1, with a strength of 9, an AP of -3 and a damage of D6, whereas the Icarus has a heavy 3, a range of 48, strength of 7, AP -1, and a damage of 2. Meaning you get more shots, but they're not as strong. It's balancing things out. If you're going up against lower armoured things like fighters, the Icarus is probably going to do you well. If you're going up against the more heavily armoured things like the troop transports, or if some douche canoes bought some Forge World stuff, and you haven't, then the Hunter's going to probably be your option of choice. We then move on to the Whirlwind. The Whirlwind is basically a missile pod tank. Equipped with a Vengeance rocket launcher. Its movement is 12 at the max and 3 at the minimum. Ballistic skill 3 at the max, 5 at the minimum. 3 attacks, then D3 attacks, then 1 attack. Again, depending on how much damage you've taken. Slightly faster, which is cool. Not that it massively matters, being as the Whirlwind has 2 options for its missile launchers, Castellan and Vengeance, and both have a 72-inch range. If you need to move at all with that, it's going to be to get line of sight, which you don't need with this model. I'm not sure what the extra 2 movement will do for you, but still good. Again, the interesting things about the Whirlwind compared to the others, both the Whirlwind Castellan launcher and the Whirlwind Vengeance launcher come with a rule: this weapon can target units that are not visible to the firing model. So it can shoot anything, anywhere. It's worth noting, It's worth noting that whilst it can shoot anything anywhere, it doesn't get any advantages against flyers, so you're going to struggle to do enough damage. The Castellan gives you a heavy 2d6 with strength 6, no armor piercing and 1 damage. The Vengeance, heavy 2d3, but with strength 7, -1 and 2 damage. Now some people might ask, why take 2d3 instead of just 1d6? And again, the answer is fairly simply in the maths. You can get 2 shots in a minimum, meaning that you're always going to have it be a little bit more reliable than a 1d6 where you get 1 shot in a minimum. Your average there is going to be a little better, making the model pay for itself a little bit more. There's nothing more annoying than taking a model that relies on randomization only to have it not do anything or hit the minimum possible number for the entire game. And trust me, when you need it, that's what happens with dice. It's what the dice gods do. They laugh in your face and snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. War gear options. Model replaces Whirlwind Vengeance launcher with a Castellan launcher. Model may take a Hunter Killer, model may take a Stormbolter. Again, Hunter Killers are nice. Again, Stormbolters are nice. Abilities, Smoke Launcher and Explodes, which we've already been over. We then move on to the Predator tank, the mainstay of the Space Marine Legions. Not the most interesting of tanks, but certainly a really good one. A lot of people go, oh, this special tank, I want that special tank. And they'll often find that the Predator tanks then taking their tanks out. They're very variable. You can take a lot of combinations with them and equip them to take out other vehicles or infantry units. I've seen a lot of Predator tanks do really good service as tank hunters, taking out anti-aircraft, taking out whirlwinds and other things. Okie dokie, movement is 12 inches. With the Predator, that extra movement is going to make a difference because it has an abundance of weapons that are not all of which are very long ranged. And that goes down to 3 inches when it's on its last few wounds, passing through 6. 3, 4 and 5 ballistic skill, on its 3 wound rankings, 3 D3 and 1 on its attacks. Wargear options with this one. This model may replace its Predator autocannon with a twin las cannon. Again, you can make it into a vicious anti-tank tank. It may take 2 heavy bolters or 2 las cannons. Again, brutality abounds. You may take a hunter killer and you may take a storm bolter. So you've got the ability for a little bit of extra firepower for anti-tanks, or going completely anti-tank, or going completely anti-personnel, whichever you fancy. Ability smoke launcher and explodes yet again. Moving on to the Vindicator. For those who don't know what the Vindicator is, it's the stubby one with the huge, short, stumpy cannon. It's also the building destroyer of the Bunker Buster. However, it is brutal against infantry units. It will often wipe them out. Movement of 10, then 5, then 3, 3, 4, and 5 ballistic skill, 3 D3, then 1 attacks, depending on how many wounds it has. It's worth noting, actually, just popping back there, that the Hunter, the Stalker have 11 wounds, the Whirlwind and the Predator have 12 wounds, and the Vindicator is back to 11 wounds. So, respectable amounts, with a little bit more based on those heavier guys that will see more service. Model may take Hunter Killer, model may take Storm Bolter as your wargear options. Worth noting, there is a special on the Demolisher cannon, which is the Vindicator's specialist cannon. It's a heavy D3 with 24 inches range. It's strength 10, AP 3, and does D6 damage, which is respectable in and of itself. When attacking units with 5 or more model, change this weapon type to heavy D6. So you go from doing 1 to 3 damage to 1 to 6 damage. Sorry, you go from having 1 to 3 shots to 1 to 6 shots, and then each shot that lands does D6 damage. So 3 times 6 is 18. So you're looking at 18 for your standard. 3 times 12 is 32. So against a unit of 5 or more models, it's capable of doing 64 damage. And that's nothing to be sneered at. So you got 3 times 12. Sorry, no, it's not 3 times 12. That's wrong. Let me redo the maths in my head. 6 times... Oh, I'm crap at maths, it turns out. No, it's the end of the day. I'm usually better at maths. 6 times 6 is... So 10 times 6 is 60. Yeah, 32. It's capable of doing 32 wounds in a turn. Please put in the comments if I'm wrong with a correction of the actual number of wounds it can do per turn. My brain has slightly melted today. I've been dealing with a lot of interesting crap. This model may take Hunter Killer and a Storm Bolter. Yep. Smoke launchers and explodes as standard. Then we move on to the first of the big boys, the Land Raider. This is the box standard Land Raider. It has a movement of 10, but with 16 wounds, which is very respectable. Again, the movement will drop down to 3 inches at its slowest. 3, 4, 5 ballistic skill, and 6 D6 and 1 attacks. These attacks are obviously in close combat compared to its weaponry. Single Land Raider starts with the twin heavy bolter and twin las cannons. This model may take a Hunter Killer missile, Storm Bolter, and a multi-melter. Abilities: smoke launchers and explodes as standard, but also power the machine. This model does not suffer the penalty to hit rolls for moving and firing heavy weapons, making it a much nastier machine. Yeah, the Land Raider is a big target, but it will often pay off. It really depends on how your opponent's equipped. If they've taken something like the Predator armed with nothing but las cannons, it's going to eat your Land Raider, and it's going to cost a lot less doing it. So you need to be aware what you're doing with this Land Raider and how you're going to protect it and allow it to do its job. Just to give you a rough difference, the Predator has 9 power points. The basic Land Raider is 19 power points. Now, slightly cheaper, 16 power points for the Land Raider Crusader. Again, movement 10 at the beginning and movement 3 once it's wounded. 3, 4 and 5 ballistic skill with 6 d6 and 1 attacks. Crusader is a single model equipped with twin assault cannons and 2 hurricane bolters. It's an anti-personnel cannon. Now, it's worth noting that, where are we? Both of these have the transport ability, with the standard Land Raider being able to take 10 Space Wolves models, with each Jump Pack, Terminator or Wolf model taking the space of 2 other models. It cannot transport Primaris Marines, so sadly it's not going to work for me. The Land Raider Crusader, abilities wise, sorry, I'm going to go straight to transport and then bounce back to the abilities. Sorry for the mess up there. The model can transport 16 Space Wolf infantry, making it perfect for your Blood Claw packs. It will get your Blood Claw packs right in there and disgorge them and then shred any infantry units around them, meaning between it and its cargo, you basically have a Death Star unit that eats infantry, provided it can survive. If you turn up as a Space Wolf player with a Land Raider Crusader, your opponent is going to try and kill it. I speak from experience because, well, frankly, I almost always taken that to my games. The old rules allowed me to put a Wolf Lord in with the unit, and for the unit to be protected. I'm not sure if the new rules allow for that, but if they do, Space Wolf Lords are vicious, vicious creatures. Unfortunately, if you do include them in this one, you don't get the benefits of them negating the Blood Claws rule. But then again, you don't always need it. You really are going to charge Blood Claws at that unit that you want to utterly destroy. But yeah, it's a brilliant combination. Now, model may take Hunter Killer, model may take Stormbolter, model may take Multi-Melter. A fair amount of options. The Multi-Melter can give you a little tactical flexibility. Frankly, if you're going as an infantry killer, I keep the Heavy Bolter and just add a Stormbolter for those extra shots. If you want something just in case, a Hunter Killer missile is not terrible. It's one shot, but it's one shot with a reasonable strength and a reasonable AP. Abilities: Smoke Launchers and Explodes are standard. Power the Machine Spirit, which we just covered, and my personal favourite, Frag Assault Launchers. Roll d6 each time this model finishes a charge move within 1 of an enemy unit. On a d4, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. If you want to take out an orc mob or a huge creature, this can be your friend. It can just pump out so many wounds between the Land Raider and the Blood Claws. There's not much that can survive it. You'll then be in a vulnerable position because you'll have charged them right to the front, right into the face of your opponents. But that's up to your tactical choices and what you intend to do. Right, the Land Raider Redeemer, which is the third type of Land Raider. This one clocks in at 18 power points. Again, 10, 5 and 3. This one has 16 wounds as well. 10, 5 and 3 movement, 3, 4 and 5 ballistic skill, and 6 d6 and 1 on the attacks. Land Raider Redeemer is a single model equipped with twin assault cannons and 2 flamestorm cannons. Again, this is another infantry killer. Used to be a beautiful Imperial Guard killer back in the day, because flamestorm cannons ignored the fact that they all come in massive units of 10. Well, massive units of 10, I mean massive amounts of units, each only 10 men, so the attacks didn't roll over, which was always a struggling tactical issue for anybody fighting them. Let's have a look. Flamestorm cannon. This weapon automatically hits its target. Everything you'd expect. Strength 6, minus 2 AP, heavy D6 and 2 damage. This model may take a Hunter Killer. This model may take a Stormbolter. This model may take a Multi-Melter. Yay. This model also has Frag Assault. It has a transport capacity of 12, so not as good as the Crusader, but if you're taking, for example, a unit of 5 Terminator Wolf Guard and your Wolf Lord, this may be the transport for you. Yep, again, frag assaults is a nice thing as well. And once again, of course, it cannot take Primaris. Boo, sad face. Then we have the Rhino, the ubiquitous and reliable Rhino. At 4 points, 4 power points, it is very cheap. Will get your units where they need to be, and then you hide behind the Rhino while it gets shot to crap and dies, and your units then go and do their job. It's a lovely little thing. Comes with self-repair. Roll a d6 at the start of each of your turns. On a 6, this model regains 1 lost wound. Hardly reliable, but if it works, it's nice. Smoke launchers and explodes, which is fairly standard. This model may take a hunter killer. This model may take an additional stormbolter, which means it has 2 stormbolters. It's worth doing it. That and the hunter killer give you another couple of attacks this turn and can help just take a few of those guys off the unit you're trying to kill. Model can transport 10 Space Wolves infantries. It cannot transport jump packs, Terminators, Primaris, or Wolfram. It's just too tiny. The Razorback. A lot of guys use Razorbacks, as I say, particularly with the long fangs, because it takes 6 guys. It's equipped with a twin heavy bolter as standard. I should probably, with the Rhino and the Razorback, both of them have movement 12, then 6, then 3. Both of them are ballistic skill 3+, 4+, and 5+, with 3 attacks, D3 attacks, and 1 attack as they go. And both of them have 10 wounds. Not a lot of wounds, but a respectable amount. With the Land Rat and the Razorback, it's often considered just enough wounds to get you where you're going. What are your options? This model may replace its twin heavy bolter with a twin las cannon or a twin assault cannon. Having an extra mobile las cannon out there can be very useful. It's cheap and you can often fit it in a unit or in an army rather where you wouldn't have one before, where you couldn't take a more expensive thing. And it may take a hunter killer or a storm bolter as standard. Abilities, again, smoke launchers and explodes. This model can transport 6 Space Wolf infantry. It cannot transport drum packs, Terminators, Primaris, or Wolfen. I know several people who don't use them at all as transports, just for their weapons, but you can use them if you need to. Oh, I have gone on to the next bit. Might as well keep going. There's not too much of it. This is actually just the transport section. We've also got the drop pod in the transport section. Drop pod assault. During deployment, you can set this model up along with enemy units embarked within it in orbit instead of placing the battlefield. At the end of your movement phase, this model can perform a drop pod assault. Set up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from an enemy model unit. Any models embarked must immediately disembark, and they must be set up more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. Models that cannot be set up because there's not enough room are slain. Seems a bit harsh, surely they just wait. And then we've got immobile. You can't move it after you set it up. Fairly standard. You can transport 10 Space Wolf infantry. Cannot transport drum packs, Terminator, Primaris, or Wolfen. It's a classic for Space Wolves, and it's really up to you whether or not you want to use it. In combination with a lot of the other mobile and movable stuff, it does mean you can have your entire army placed where you want, but it is at a cost of 5. We then move on to the Land Raider Storm. The Land Speeder Storm, not the Land Raider Storm, that'd be mental. The Land Speeder Storm, single unit equipped with Heavy Bolter or Cerberus launcher. It's open topped. Models embarked on this vehicle can shoot in their shooting phase, which is nice to have a little bit of extra firepower. They measure the range and draw line of sight from any point in the vehicle. When they do so, any restrictions or modifiers that apply to this model also apply to its passengers. For example, they cannot shoot if this model has fallen back in the same turn, except with pistols. If this model is within 1 inch of an enemy unit, and so on. Note that passengers cannot shoot if this model falls back, even though the Land Speeder Storm itself can. Sucks to be them. Behind enemy lines. During deployment, you can set this unit up behind enemy lines. Instead of placing it on the battlefield, this is fairly standard. At the end of your movement phase, you can join the battle. You set up within 12 inches of any battle edge and 9 inches away from any model. There's a damn good reason for that. The Land Speeder Storm is often taken by scouts. Transport. This model can transport 5 Space Wolf Scout infantry. Ta-da! As I said. I don't tend to rate Land Speeders just because they're wiped out very quickly. With only 7 wounds, they are one of the lightest vehicles. The Land Speeder Storm is quite possibly the exception to that rule. With all the guys that can fire from it and all the damage it can do, yes, it's going to get taken out, but it can do a ton of damage before it gets there and can be worth its points. Finally, in the transport section, my favourite and something I have yet to buy, but I'm going to get for my birthday or Christmas, the Repulsor. The Repulsor is a single model equipped with a heavy onslaught Gatling cannon, twin heavy bolters, iron hail heavy stubbers, Icarus iron hail heavy stubbers, 2 Crackstorm grenade launchers, 2 storm bolters, and 2 auto launchers. Basically packed to the gills with firepower, overflowing with doom. It has 16 wounds, which you'd expect from something that looks a lot like a Land Raider. Movement 10, then 5, then 3. Ballistic skill 3, then 4, then 5. And attacks 6, d6, then 1. Here's where you get a lot of variance for your money with the Primaris. This model may replace its twin heavy bolters with twin las cannons. This model may replace its heavy onslaught Gatling cannon with a las talon. This model may replace its iron hail heavy stubber with an onslaught Gatling cannon. So you can move that about. This model may replace its 2 storm bolters with 2 Fragstorm grenade launchers. This model may replace its Icarus iron hail heavy stubber with an Icarus rocket pod, storm bolter or Fragstorm grenade launcher. This model may replace its auto launchers with 2 Fragstorm grenade launchers, and this model may take an additional iron hail heavy stubber. Weapons everywhere. Hover tank. It doesn't actually have anti-grav technology. The Imperium's developed repulsor technology, which gives the similar effect to anti-grav technology, except squishes things, which is exactly what you expect from the filthy Monkey. Hover tank. Distance and ranges are always measured to and from this model's hull, even though it has a base. Repulsor field. Your opponent must subtract 2 from any charge rolls made for this unit that declare charges against the repulsor. Basically, it sends pulses of kinetic force downwards, like massive gusts of winds, and then they shoot outwards. Think of it like trying to charge a massive hovercraft. The wind coming, the force coming outwards is going to push you back. You've just got to run harder. Power of the Machine Spirit. Again, very similar to a Land Raider. For moving and firing heavy weapons. Auto launchers. Instead of shooting any weapons in the shooting phase, this model can use its auto launchers. Until your next shooting phase, your opponent must subtract 1 from all hit rolls for ranged weapons that target this model. Basically smoke grenades by another name. And explodes. This is the standard. Roll a d6, and on a 6, each unit within 6 suffers d6 more wounds. It's worth noting, with any of these transports, that includes your own units. Get them out of there if you think their transport is going to be blown up. This model can transport 10 Space Wolf Primaris units, each marked X Gravis, which is what the captain in the... bloody hell, my brain's fried. My brain really is fried. This is what the captain of the Dark Imperium set comes in, or if we've got... Where are we? My brain is not working. Not in scepters. Nope, it's no good. I cannot think of the right word. Whatever. It's what the big badass Primaris guys come with. So it's really worth considering what you're going to put in it. Where are we? Yeah. It cannot transport drum pack models. So yeah, that's it. It's a beast. It's particularly a beast if you're a Primaris player. Even if you're not a Primaris player, it's actually worth considering just for the huge amount of firepower it brings to the game. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Remember, if you liked this video, please like, please subscribe, please tell your friends. Thank you very much, and have a good battle.